happy to be 3-0, and that's really, really important. You start looking at the game, and the first drive, they had 75 yards, and there were 7 minutes left to go in the quarter. So obviously they came in thinking they couldn't block us and then wanting to keep the ball, and it worked. And it worked partially because of the inflicted wounds that we had through penalties. You can't have 10 penalties. We've been so good in the first 2 weeks not to have penalties, and here we are. We look up and we got 10 at halftime, 16 for the game. So it's probably good in a game that you dominate and didn't play as well as you could have because of those penalties, that we can go back and really emphasize that. They only had 76 yards rushing for the game and very little the second half. And I thought really proud of the goal line stand. And then after forcing the field goal, they came back out and the defense just totally dominated the game in the second half. Offensively, we made some plays. We did some good things. Jacoby hit some passes. Connor struggled a little bit early. I was glad that he came back in and hit a couple of passes at the end of the game. We'll be playing both of them. We're just going to look at it and see what we can do to find the hot hand and keep them out there. Omarian's great. We dropped a couple of passes with tight ends in the first half and then caught all of them in the second half. So proud of the guys, proud of the way they fought, and happy to be 3-0. And we only had the ball 26 minutes and 19 seconds. Anyway, they still had it 33 minutes and 41 seconds. So that's what college football's gotten. When they shorten the game, you can't let them keep the ball. And I thought the kicking game, we got a turnover. We had the great kickoff return. We had a penalty there. We had a holding penalty. So we'll go back and look at all those tonight and see which ones we felt like are penalties, because you can't punish the kids if it's not a penalty, even though it's called, because we got human beings making calls out there. So, and a couple of times I thought we lost our composure. And you got to compete, but you got to compete with your composure. You can't lose composure. And they probably know all the central guys, so there's a lot of mouthing back and forth, a lot more than I thought there'd be, and we can't have that, period. Questions?
Mack. You quickly turned to Jacoby tonight. Just talk about the decision to go ahead and play him.
We decided during the week that we were going to put him in the third series regardless. And then he threw the ball because we wanted to play both of them. And if you just put him in and you don't tell Connor you're going to put him in, then Connor thinks you're taking him out. So we've learned enough. We didn't want to do that. And then when he took it right down and scored, we wanted him to go back in. And then he played well, and that's why we put Connor. I was hoping we'd have a little more time at the end of the game, and when you put your second and third team in on defense, usually you don't get them out like other defensive guys did. So, but I was glad Connor hit a couple of passes there at the end of the game.
Decision earlier in the week to play Jacoby in the third series, how much does that speak to the progress that he's made? Because Chip keeps talking about how he was behind and he was trying to catch up, and even said earlier in the week he was still not quite there.
You know, it's when we're trying to play enough people, because when you see a chance to play, you practice better, and that just makes sense. And Jacoby had no hope. He was third. He missed spring. He didn't know the offense. So when Max went down, it gave Jacoby a chance, and he's lost 12 pounds. He's worked really, really hard in practice, and we saw a lot of progress. So we're going to give them both a chance, and that way we're going to have two quarterbacks that can play. And if one's struggling, like we did with the four I mentioned when we were here before, we'll just put the hot hand in and leave him in.
From when? Like the start of fall camp?
I think when he got here.
Yeah, he was a little heavy. Obviously, he's getting low second team snaps or third team snaps when he's not going to play. And then when he was doing a really good job with the white team in practice, the second team in practice. So we felt like, let's give him a chance. He's never played. So we've got two quarterbacks that are very talented, and neither one of them have played a lot of football.
How do you determine who starts next week? We'll look at
every play tonight, and it's funny when you and I hear everything on the headsets, and when Chip says, hand the ball off, you know, he should have, and he messed up. So Chip will grade it tonight. We got Clyde Christensen, who's the best out there. He will grade it tonight. And then all the coaches will grade it tonight. I'll grade it separately. And then we all get together in the morning. They'll get together first as a staff, and they'll go over everything that they think. I will write up my thoughts, and then we'll get together tomorrow and look at, not sure what we'll do for practice tomorrow afternoon, but we'll look at what we think we're going to do at Tuesday's practice.
Mack, to stay on that, you guys did put Connor back into the game at one point in the third quarter, then put Jacoby back in. Was that a situation, a little bit of Max or Connor kind of needing to, play to stay in, so to speak? Like, did you want to leave him in for a little bit longer after that, or just kind of what went into that?
We're trying, when we get to the ACC schedule, we want both of them to have played enough that they feel very comfortable going in and playing. And also, sometimes you think you know what they do best in practice. You want to see how they respond in a game. So there's certain things that Connor can do that Jacoby can't, and vice versa. So we've got to really look at that, because that'll make it tougher on defenses when you've got two different quarterbacks. And you can run similar blocking schemes, but different plays. So the offensive line's okay with it. It was really good that Malik McGowan played every snap until the end there. And then we put in Adorno and Zach Rice. But Malik got a whole lot of plays tonight. Zach Greenwood got 3/4 of the game last week, got all the game tonight. Like I said, I didn't go, or I said on the radio, I guess, I didn't go for the 4th and 1 early because you got a new center, you got a new guard. I didn't want them to be up 7-0 and us fumble a snap on 4th and 1 at our own end and get them excited. So it'll be great to see Malik and Zach Greenberg and see how they did. And also, because some of the early troubles that we had were missed blocks or missed assignments up inside, and that's just great that Jeff has had nearly 2 full games here at center to get ready, and that Malik had a full game.
Mack, when you told Connor about this decision during the midweek, what was his reaction?
Connor's the nicest person and young person I've ever met. Connor's good. Whatever, I want to win. And he had no bad feeling on the sideline tonight. He's patting Jacoby on the back over once and said, here's what I saw. So it's also really good when you've got two guys like that you can come out of the game and watch the game from the sideline a series or two and see what's really happening. And now we've got those iPads. It helps so much. And without Randy Clements being there tonight, he's still in the hospital. We had Corey Gaynor, a guy that's out there on his own, not getting anything. I said you're the cheapest paid full-time coach now in the country, and he agreed. And Kyle Fuller, the GA, they were coaching offensive line tonight. So those two guys just came out there and tried to do a great job with the guys and keep them upbeat. We're thinking about Randy, and hopefully he'll get out in the next couple of days.
Max get to talk to the team at all? Has he been able to talk to the team at all?
No, he sat on the 5th floor tonight, so he did see the game. He got back maybe Thursday about 6 o'clock at night. I saw him the next morning. I think I saw him Friday morning in the training room, and he looks good. He's at a good spot, and he's doing well. He's still having some trouble getting around. So when we get him, so we can figure out, is it golf cart, is it scooter, because it's with his problems here, it's hard to sit. So we've got him back safe, and he's excited about starting to come to meetings and be on the sideline.
The 16 penalties too.
I don't have any earthly idea, probably not being as focused as we have. It was unbelievable. I mean, it made me so mad. I mean, I was sitting there, and we've talked about pre-snap penalties, and the first play, I think, we're offsides. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they did a good job pulling us off. I think everybody on defense got offsides at some point or another tonight. And then we have, I thought one late hit on the quarterback was probably fair, or a push on the quarterback. The other one, I thought Dez did a good job. They called Marcus Allen for taunting on the sideline. If he did, he needs to shut up. I mean, come on, man. Play ball. Just keep your mouth shut. There's no place for that in football. So I was really, really disappointed in our defensive penalties. They absolutely disrupted the first half, and we would have taken care of the game in the first half if it hadn't been for the penalties.
First,
We'll go here first and then here. Oh,
And Matt, so just going off of the penalties, I mean, I think especially early, like they helped keep NC Central in that game, and I know y'all ended up with over 10 penalties, but it seems like you kind of quelled them in the second half. What did you or your coaching staff, say to your players to kind of calm them down a little bit and get them focused and be more disciplined?
yeah.
We talked about what wins and loses football games at halftime, and that this game would have been probably out of reach if we hadn't had the penalties, but we did, and you need to grow up, and you need to quit having lack of discipline and lack of composure, and we just told them the truth, and said the start of the blowout was the goal line stand. I mean, that's when it all started, because Central knew they couldn't score. But even we gave them another first down on that one for mouthing on the sideline. So I just think they probably know a lot of the Central kids. I didn't anticipate that. They probably hang out with them, they're buddies, they're high school teammates, and so there's a lot more jawing in this game than there have been the other two, not even the Charlotte game, because there were so many transfers there. And I didn't anticipate that, so it's probably my fault for not warning them that it's a neighborhood game.
from when you first met Jacoby to now, how has he grown in terms of dealing with the pressure that he had to deal with tonight?
Yeah.
Jacoby is he's a very unique person. We talk about how nice and smart Connor is. Jacoby's so nice too. That's one thing, we've got to get both of them to be more aggressive as leaders and step up and start. If somebody's not doing their job, they need to start telling them, because they're two of the nicest young people I've ever seen, and Max goes into that same group. We said that room could hold Bible study every week because they're just nice kids. But I was really proud of Jacoby. He obviously has a tremendous arm. He's got a quick release. There was an overthrow, maybe 3 tonight. We've got to get those where they're catchable. Chris Culliver had a guy beat. We threw it over Nesbitt's head once. But he has a great throw on a pass to Copenhagen that he fumbles on a key third down, and then is a great throw to Paul Billups on fourth down, and we miss it by a foot. So there's a tremendous amount of talent there, and where he's got to do a better job in the running game, Connor's got to continue to grow in the passing game. But they've both got some things that they can do to help us win.
Coach Brown,
The plan, Mac, to
Coach Brown, you must be impressed with the amount of production from your running backs this past game. Did anything from this week kind of indicate that this game would be more so heavy on the run side?
No, we're a team that runs the ball. We were averaging 243 yards or something maybe coming into the game, and had 330 tonight, I think. So we're going to run the ball. That's who we are, and we had to be who we are without those offensive linemen, because you never know who's going to sprain an ankle again, and you don't know when those two will be back. And we watched Aiden before the game. We were expecting him to play, and he's such a nice young man. He's so tough. He told us he can play, and then we watched him come off in pregame, and he couldn't. He couldn't have done a good job tonight. So, but we're going to run the ball, and we're going to run the ball every week, and that's who we are. And we've got to continue to grow in our passing game. We've been a team that could throw it and run some, and now we're a team that can run it, and we need to be able to balance it with the throwing game.
when you came up with the plan to play Jacoby in this game, were you expecting it to be in such a close game?
45-10.
Yeah, I was.
Comes in, you're trailing, against a local rival that's starting to get belief, and it's
Yeah.
one-score game at the end of the third.
You don't think that?
That you just go play your best.
Are you then in playing in such a close game?
I guess. That's one we could talk to a psychiatrist about and see if they think. I don't know, very honestly. Probably. I hadn't thought about it that way, but maybe I don't think these kids feel pressure. They just go play. So 7-0. I don't think they think the game was in jeopardy at that time. I didn't like the way that we didn't make 3 straight first downs to start the second half, because we should have adjusted better and taken the game over earlier than we did. But I like the fact that they hung in there and kept doing it and did a good job.
And lost in all this is 210 or whatever yards by Omarion.
Yeah.
How much confidence does it give the rest of the offense? Because one guy can't bring him down. It's going to take multiple guys every time to bring him down.
Omarion's such a great player. And I look up and I think, and then it's 2nd and 2. Or he scores and he's got 8 of them on him. And he takes care of the ball, he pass protects, he catches the ball. He did drop one tonight, which I was surprised, but he's a little bit behind him. Omarion's just a great player. And that's why we took him out in the 4th quarter and just said, go sit down. But he had the bruise last week, and I didn't think he showed any effects of it this week.
Max, 2 weeks in a row, they hit the goal line stands. Sometimes early season trends can continue through the season. You have to that might have been a problem last year.
Yeah, Chip,
I really feel like that goal line is live goal line is something that's hard to practice in the spring and in the fall, especially against your best running backs, because most people get hurt when you're all wadded up and you're an inside drill, or when you look at all of the surveys, it always says the closer you get to the line of scrimmage, they fall into each other, and so it's hard to work on goal line in practice live. We did this year. And we took Omarion out, but we really had goal line scrimmages and 2-point play scrimmages, and we haven't done that before. But the fact that we've done it 2 weeks in a row now really, really helps us, because we're getting live reps in games and building confidence. So I don't think there was any question when the ball's at the 1, they thought they had a chance to stop them. And that's why I'm so proud of them.
How would you assess Caleb Kost's performance? He got beat on that long throw early, but came back, had that great pick in the second half.
Yeah, we've got to remember Caleb didn't play last year really, and he missed spring practice. So he gets better every day. And people pick on the star, they pick on the nickel, because he is a man cover guy, but doesn't have the same number of snaps outside usually that those corners have. That's all they do is cover. So I felt like that he got a lot better tonight. I was really proud of the interception. He made some really good tackles. I'm not sure if we left another one, but we had an interception left on the field again with Marcus. Went through his hands over on our boundary. So, and I think we forced one turnover on defense, which was the interception, and we forced a turnover in special teams. So we got 2, and I don't think we gave one up, did we? So the 4th downs are, but we stopped them on some 4th downs too.
but Caleb's getting better.
And that's, when you look at our secondary right now, he's the young pup, so that's who they're going to try to pick on.
You mentioned that you don't think the players feel pressure when it's 7-0, but how did you see Jacoby or other players show leadership to make sure that the game didn't spiral from there?
One thing about this team, it's an older team with some really young pieces, but they get it. They don't panic. And I've asked our coaches panic a lot because it's the way they eat. And when you're in trouble in a game, you usually yell at kids, and that's not a good thing. So I've asked our coaches to keep their composure and coach them up and be positive with them. And I think it's really, really helping our team. The pressure, we had pressure at Minnesota. There's more pressure at Minnesota than there was at tonight, for sure, because that came down to a play or 2. So I really feel like that this team has great composure. Normally, we had a few that lost it tonight, and by winning in this fashion and messing some things up, it'll be a great teachable moment for us tomorrow to sit there and say, we're off the field. We're off the field, and you mouth to a guy. That's selfishness. That doesn't help our football team. We have a little saying, does it help us win? If it doesn't help us win, don't do it. And that'll be big tomorrow. We'll have a number of does it help us win.
The goal line stand was big in the half, but because you had the 10 penalties, because it was a 1-score game at that point, I mean, did you get loud with them at all in the halftime locker room to try to spark them even more? It seemed like at Minnesota you got pretty fired up in the halftime locker room. Like, what were you yelling at them?
I was very positive in the locker room at Minnesota. Very positive about their toughness and we got to do some things better, but I believe in this team. We're built for this. I was the same way now. I learned as the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. We played Kansas. We're number 1 in the country, and Kansas beat us 33-14. Just killed us, and we were awful. Troy Aikman was our quarterback because our first 2 quarterbacks were out, and Troy had never played. And it was raining, and there was a delay, and we got killed. And at halftime, it was 10-7, and I walked in and told the team, you're going to get beat. You stink. You're not helping your quarterback at all, man. Kansas is awful. You're going to lose the game. And I slammed the door and walked out. Well, I was right. And I'm on the plane with Coach Switzer when I'm headed back home, and I shouldn't sit on the plane next to the head coach when you stink and lose. And he said, I said, Coach, I'm sorry. That's inexcusable. I mean, we can't lose that game. And he said, no, you lose your first team quarterback, you're probably going to lose. Lose your second team quarterback, you're playing a true freshman, you're in a tough spot. I got that. He said, the only thing I'll tell you is those kids have great respect for you. And they're going to believe what you tell them. And you convinced them at halftime they were going to lose the game. And he said, when they're down, man, pick them up. And when they're up, you yell at them then, keep your thumb on them. And then we're playing Oklahoma State in Austin, 2004, I think. And we're down 35-7 with 4 seconds left, and we score to make it 35-14. They're killing us. And as I'm walking in the locker room, I got Coach Switzer on my shoulder saying, be positive when you're down, man. Everybody's negative. You've got to pick them up, coaches and players. So I walked in, and I told the coaches that those guys, we're playing hard. We're not playing good. God, those guys, they had a ball bounce off a helmet, and they caught it for a touchdown. They had a fumble. They picked up and ran back in. I said, this is going to be so much fun. Go figure out how you're going to win the game with your players and tell them this is going to be the biggest comeback in the history of Texas football. So I told the team when we got in there, 42-35, man. It's going to be the biggest upset, the most fun you've ever had in a football game. Well, we beat them 56-35. And I apologize to the team for underestimating them after the game. But it taught me a lesson. Pick them up when you're down. When we were down to Florida State 35-7, maybe in 2020, I said the same thing at halftime. We came back, nearly won the game. We got a couple of plays at the end. We had a chance to win. So when things aren't going well, you can't beat them down because they're down anyway. I had to pick them up. I said, we're going to win the game, but we got to quit having the lack of discipline. We got to get rid of the penalties. And then we're running the ball good. We got to protect and throw the ball. And defense, step up. The goal line stands the difference. They can't score from the 1. So they're not going to win the game. They're not going to score, but you got to get out there and get the ball back because they've had the ball 38 plays. And then we ended up with 70 plays.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you all.